Welcome to the Life Science Success Podcast. My name is Don, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm a consultant in life sciences, and I help clients reduce complexity and increase performance. So today, I have just a couple of quick announcements that I wanted to go through before we actually get to the guest today. The first one is I've actually put out on my website an ultimate guide for implementing OKRs in your business. And so if you go to 5280lsc.com, you'll see a button at the very top of the web page. You can click on that, fill out the form, and you will get the guide. There's also a quick video for anybody that's interested in taking the training that I have as well. In addition to that, great news for the Life Science Success Podcast. We received another award for the most engaging life science podcast in the United States. This is from the International Life Science Awards Foundation, so that it was very nice to receive this award as well. And today my guest is Jitendra Pant, and he is going to talk to us about being a researcher, an entrepreneur, as well as a 2 times TEDx speaker. Welcome, Jitendra.
Thank you, Don. It's wonderful that we are talking today, and first of all, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's an absolute honor, and congratulations on the recent award that you received.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, it's funny to me because since starting the podcast, I get asked oftentimes, so what are the metrics? Whenever I'm a guest, what can I expect in terms of the audience and the people that are listening and things like that? And I mean, it's always great to kind of, share with people, hey, look, I know that there are roughly over 1,000 people that oftentimes, listen to these, as well as, the watchers on LinkedIn and YouTube. But to be honest, I don't track the metrics. And my first surprise, I think it was at the beginning of this year, was first receiving a notification that we were in the top 10 in FeedSpot globally. So that was good for our category. And then, just these things keep coming in, and it's really nice to have happen. It's just a good recognition, more or less from my perspective, of you than it is of me, because oftentimes I try and do the least amount of speaking in these episodes and let you guys as guests do the most amount of speaking. So it's more of a reflection. I look at it as the guests that I have on than it is me, because I'm kind of a boring guy whenever you look at it.
I won't say that, but yeah. If you want to take that creative liberty, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Well, hey, I mean, we're going to really dive into your background as we kind of go through things here. First, can we just start with, can you tell the listeners just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Jitendra Pant, and I go by Jiten. That's what my friends call me. I grew up in a very small town, or rather a village in India. My father, he passed away in 2019. He was a forest guard. My mom have been a homemaker. I have 4 siblings. I did pretty much my education on scholarships and fee waiver. I did my bachelor's in biotechnology and master's in biotechnology from India. And in between, I worked for a company called Biocon, where I had the opportunity to develop life-saving drugs that are currently being used for psoriasis and breast cancer. And after finishing my master's, I came to United States uh, as a visiting scholar to the University of Georgia, and then later on, I was offered a PhD position in the same lab that I very happily took. That was always a dream for me. And then I did my postdoc from University of Michigan, started a company between my postdoc and my PhD. So overall, I have 13 years of bench experience. And most recently, I have been working at Caron Products as the Global Director of Research and Innovation. And here my work is to develop new products as well as improve the existing products. I also look at merger and acquisitions for expanding our product portfolio in my free time. I love singing. I love reading books, and I'm also working on a book called "Fool Who Ate His Hunger." Finished with the writing part, and now focusing on editing and publishing it soon.
Oh,
Thank
very
you.
nice. Yeah, I've been through that journey recently myself. We were talking a little bit before the show, and at the end of September, I'm looking forward to the launch of my book that centers on overcommitment. So, this idea of really focusing your life on things as well, and it's one heck of a process. It's an interesting process to go through. So congratulations on finishing the first part, the writing, and then the editing could be a bit brutal having somebody look at it and judge your work.
Yeah, no, thank you. But I would also like to congratulate you on your book, and I believe the topic is very relevant, and it's very important to prioritize where you should focus on. And I believe your book will help a lot of readers, and all the best. And I'm excited to read it myself.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, so the one thing I wanted to kind of hop into, in terms of overall general topics that I said in your intro is, how is it that you were a TEDx speaker twice? I mean, it's a pretty good thing to have accomplished as well.
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. First thing is the fact that I enjoy public speaking, and I believe it's like being on stage gives you a platform where you can share message to the larger audience. We all have beliefs. We all strongly believe about something. Some people are passionate about their work. Some people have experiences that we know that others can benefit from. And I think public speaking allows me to do that. So knowing the benefits of public speaking keeps me excited about it. Second thing is, I believe if you do not have passion for your work, if you do not love what you do, you cannot transform your energy to the public. So I think my passion for my work allows me to transfer that energy to my audience, and I believe that has helped me grab two TEDx assignments. And ultimately, I would also like to add that public speaking did not come very naturally to me. I learned it the harder way uh, uh, because English is not my native language, and I'm still working on my English, but I think I have certainly overcome the fear of public speaking. So, and I believe as long as you believe your guts, you are not scared of doing the right things, and you are not looking for an external approval for what you should be doing. Confidence comes naturally,
Mm.
and my English. If I would have waited for my English to get fixed and then do public speaking, I should have taken another birth. So I thought overcoming fear was a smarter strategy to do it. So yeah, yeah. So have passion for your work, love what you do, and then do not fear to share your message with the world.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have a real execution mindset as well. Another person I was speaking with earlier in the week that was telling me essentially they believe that today most of the people in a lot of the companies that are out there have this mindset of um, like a training mindset almost. It was
Mhm.
the way that the person was relaying this message, and that rather than spending their time figuring out how to execute or how to go get stuff done, people were wanting more and more training, and this it just was sort of for this leader. It was one of these sort of exchanges where it was like, look, the training request is never going to stop, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I need you to go do some things. If you go do, then you learn. And I can't think of anything more terrifying than standing up in front of a crowd in a non-native language, right? And essentially
Yeah.
having to try and convey an idea. But at the same time, what a better way to show, your level of commitment and execution around that. So that's great.
No, well, thank you. Thank you. And I believe for people who are interested in giving a TED talk or presenting on stage or have stage fear, Toastmasters is a very good platform.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I joined Toastmasters back in 2015. I was the secretary for a year. doing those assignments, presenting to people I did not know, and a lot of it was impromptu. And they have various versions, right? You do storytelling, you do impromptu, you do debates, you talk about humor, talk about emotions, and there are various ways of making a story interesting. But ultimately, as long as you can connect with your audience and then you can create a hook and keep them engaged is the ultimate victory as a public speaker. So focus on your audience, keep them in mind, and when you craft your speeches or your talks, make sure that it caters to the audience that you are speaking to.
Yeah. Yeah. So many important things in that statement as well. I mean, I absolutely love Toastmasters, and always, appreciated a lot of essentially the speaking games that they play as well. And I feel like a lot of them, force you to do a lot of good things. The one thing that I know I personally have tried to work on in the past is just the amount of filler words that I use. So the ums and ahs in between. And
Yeah.
I used to show up to Toastmasters with normally a large dollar bill to let people know that, hey, look, I'm just going to keep doing this throughout time. I'm aware of it, and I am trying, but at the same time, it's one of those things that comes more naturally to have filler words in my speech than to not.
Yeah. Yeah, like each time you want to come out of a good habit, it's a good way of putting money there and say, each time I do this mistake, I owe you some money. Yeah, I do that. I apply that thing on a lot of things that I try to improve.
Yeah. So I found your opening to your talk, to one of your TED talks that talked about transforming healthcare by saying yes to no.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. And at the very beginning of the talk, you actually said, I have no reason or qualification for being here. Why did you start it that way? I mean, it was it was an interesting way to sort of engage the audience. And okay, so why are you up there, I guess?
Yeah, so I think my opening statement was I have no research experience to be on this stage, and if you look at the title and if you follow the talk till the end, you would notice that I also mentioned that I have a PhD in biomedical engineering, focused on nitric oxide research. Now, nitric oxide can be abbreviated as NO or no, and and I revealed it later during my talk that I meant to say I have by saying I have no research experience, I'm telling you that I have nitric oxide research experience. So yeah,
Right.
it created a hook, but I think to open with it, it also made me sound humble,
Mm,
which I believe I am. But I think it was that we talk about creating a hook and engaging your audience, and I believe these are the kind of things you have to add humor to your speech to engage your audience, and it that no research experience got the job done there for
yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought it was a really good talk. I thought it was, well phrased and sort of, walk people through and then brought people right back to your opening, as you got ready to close. It was, just a very engaging talk. So I would encourage anybody that's out there, that is interested in Jitendra's talk, please Google him and TEDx. It's TEDx UGA is the place that he did the talk. So feel free to check it out. Um, you also recently posted 5 ways to enhance your scientific impact. Can we talk about each one of the 5 ways that you mentioned on LinkedIn? The first one was publish fast.
Yeah. So I have realized that a lot of researchers are hardworking. I mean, there is no way out. For in any profession, if you want to be successful, you have to be hardworking. It becomes even more important in academia when you're a scientist. You're spending late hours in the lab. In the weekends, you are in the lab. But ultimately, if you cannot publish, uh, it does not reaches your work is not able to create that impact. And I very strongly believe that a published work is far more impactful than an unpublished experiment that is sitting on your table as a manuscript. So that's why I constantly encourage scientists to never lose sight of what you are here for, and it should not just be for the love of science. You ultimately, if you really care about using your science to make an impact, people should be able to read it, right?
Mm,
And for people to be able to read it, you have to publish fast. And people do the mistake of waiting for 2 3 years before they can publish. Perfection sometimes can be an enemy, and it can come on the way of getting to the speed. So you have to balance and draw a line where you do not compromise the quality of your work, but at the same time, you make sure that you publish it on time. So that was the advice about publishing fast. And you can always start with publishing a review article, and that way you do not have to wait on finishing up your experiments before you can publish.
yeah. And number 2 was take ownership that I saw.
Yeah. So I see. Usually, if you look about, if you see the way PhD and postdoc work, and you have a PhD, so you would relate to this, uh, or a master's work, or any research program work is, you finish your experiment, you write your manuscript, you give it to your professor. The professor does the proofreading, and then they send it for publication. But what happens most of the times is you have given your manuscript to the professor, but now professor is holding it with him or her because they are so busy. They have thousand other works to do, and you are waiting, and they have forgotten about your manuscript. So the it creates a delay in publication. That's why I say be proactive and take the ownership, because first of all, you should identify what is causing the delay. Um, is it you not communicating and not sending constant reminder to your professor? Is it the professor not having the right letter that he wants to send to the editor? So you write the letter to the editor, and create a draft and forward it to your professor and say, can you please proofread it and submit it along with my manuscript? So basically, the goal is to make it easy for your professor. If you are proactive, if you are doing experiment fast, if you are collaborating with other peers to get various pieces of your research done, and you are constantly sending reminders to your professor, you would save so much time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know students complaining that my professor is sitting with my manuscript for last 1 year, and I'm like, what are you doing about it? Instead of, I mean, besides complaining, what are you doing about it?
Yeah.
Send a reminder. Be after their life. And my my professor, when I was doing my PhD, he would constantly say, "This guy is after my life," and I said, "Yes, because this is about my career and my professional growth, and
Yeah.
if it means that I have to be after your life, I will be after your life."
Yeah, it was one of those things where there were PhD candidates that were with me that sort of adopted that what was it, the all but done, kind of mantra after their name, right? So and I remember saying to them, look, I want to be all done, not all but
Yes.
done. I want to be all done. And I mean, I would imagine anybody that was involved in kind of the final steps of, either mentoring me as well as, sort of reviewing anything that I had submitted, for my dissertation. It was, I mean, I was relentless in terms of, let's get to the finish line, guys, quick. And, they all had day jobs as well, and I appreciated that. But at the same time, I very much, wanted, feedback on my manuscript. I also wanted, to just get done. I mean, let's get going so I can add these 3 initials after my name.
Absolutely. I also believe that a lot of time we forget how much power do we have.
Mm,
We always think that these are external forces. I cannot do anything about it,
yeah,
and just doing that makes you weak. Knowing that you can, in any given situation, you have some level of control, and in this case, this control is about communicating, reminding them,
yeah.
writing a letter for them, making things easier for them, is a way of taking charge of the situation.
Absolutely. The number 3 item that you had listed was publish a review article fast, which you mentioned a minute ago. Didn't know if there was anything else that you wanted to add to that item.
Yeah, I would say there are various benefits of publishing a review article, and this is one advice I wish someone should have given me. First of all, review articles are much easier to publish. The rejection rate is very low. You don't have to finish any experiment in order to write a review article. You don't have to be associated with big professors, big labs. You can be anywhere in the world. You could be sitting on your table in a tiny room and still be able to write a review article. And I say to do it earlier than later is because when you start your PhD or postdoc or any research program, in those initial days, you have to read anyway. You
Mm-hmm.
have to compile reports anyway. You are basically choosing from different topics. Why not put a little bit of articulative writing into that, paraphrase statements, draw conclusions from various sources, and connect dots together and turn it into a review article and publish it. And if you do it early on, by the time you finish your PhD, you would already have 100 200 citations, because one good thing about review articles is they receive a lot of citations. So you are improving your scientific impact. And if you are an immigrant scientist like myself, who are looking to use your credentials for O1 visa or green cards and all that, these citations plays even bigger role. So, I can give you 1,000 different reasons why you should write a review article. But for those people who are convinced that they need to write a review article, do it in your first semester, not in your final year. Yeah.
Yeah. The next one was invest time to learn persuasive writing.
Yeah, so this is like any form of communication in research. Writing plays a very important role. You are writing grants, you are creating your posters, you are writing manuscripts. You want them to be published in high impact factor paper, and it is not just about uh, doing the experiments. Your ability to narrate a story and make it interesting that people want to read more of your work is an art, and persuasive writing would help you not only narrate your story and send the message across more clearly, but it will also allow you to publish your research in very high impact factor paper. Now, this is the benefit that you are getting out of it, right? Publishing in the high impact factor paper. We very often talk about the love for science and how you want to help other researchers, right? If you really want to help other researchers, publishing in high impact factor papers or articulative writing, even in a low impact factor journal, allows you to reach wider audience, wider research network, and these people can now do developmental research based on your original work. So your ability to do persuasive writing is allowing you to communicate it to other scientists, and these scientists are now taking these ideas to the new level. So look at the impact you are creating within the scientific community and not just for your own career.
Yeah, we've all read people's work in the past that all of a sudden somebody, even though they're still constrained by a lot of the same things that most research articles are, constrained by, at the same time their story seems to come across better. And a lot of that sort of ties to what I hear you saying as well, is just this idea of, how do you engage the reader? Even though you're somewhat constrained, you've got to have certain elements in each one of your research articles, but at the same time you could still provide a solid story and a reason to come along with you in the journey.
Absolutely. And for those who wants to develop persuasive writing skill, constantly read papers that you enjoyed reading.
Yeah.
There are good papers, bad papers, but there are papers that we remember. There are good talks, bad talks. There are talks that we remember. Just see that what was that something that you liked about that? How did they how was the opening and the end? How did they presented a, especially in science. So you are a scientist by training. I'm a scientist by training. We can follow one approach of overcomplicating an idea and try to look very smart, but nobody gets it. People might at the end of the day, people might say that, oh, this guy or girl is very smart, but I did not get anything out of it. Another way is you make it overly simplistic, where it reaches the people, it conveys the message, they get what you want to say, and they are then able to use that message to better their life and their professional growth, and do further research on the initial work that you created, right? So knowing your audience, again, just like TED Talk, knowing your audience here is supremely powerful. But do not forget that simplicity will always win. You don't have to overcomplicate things when they don't need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And so your last one on here is be visible.
Yeah, be visible again means, see, if you want to create an impact, if I publish a paper, it has one citation and it is, or we are publishing a book, or if I'm a speaker, if I really want to make an impact, it's important that I could reach out to wider audience. It definitely has the benefit of helping my professional growth, because now it can open doors to many opportunities. But at the same time, it's not just about selling yourself, it's about creating that impact. How can you create an impact in isolation? If you are visible, more people can learn about you and your work, and then you can touch more lives. And that's why being visible is very important, especially when you are doing good work. It's your responsibility to be visible, and reach and touch more lives.
Yeah, and I think I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday about myself, that as I got ready to start the podcast, so the way that this all got initiated was by somebody that I had had a conversation with, and they said, I wish I would have recorded, this conversation. And in my mind, that instantly brought to light the idea of having a podcast. And so I started out with an audio only podcast. We recorded only the audio, no video whatsoever. And then I struggled to initially get those out, but I read the book. It's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. And he talks about this sort of personal resistance that we all sort of have, right? So we struggle with, sort of how visible we should be in front of, other people, and, sort of the things that we should do. But at the same time, I had people that were encouraging me, saying, hey, look, but there's nobody else that's out there talking about the great things that are happening in life sciences. And so why not sort of bring that to light? And the same exact thing happened to me with video. Is somebody had said, hey, you should have this on video so that we could see you, and it'll, help people kind of understand who your guest is a little bit more, and things like that. And again, this idea of being on video just seemed, again, not natural for me. But this, sort of the thought process being that in some way, maybe this helps to translate to a company that's out there that's interacting with customers in life sciences, and it helps somebody in that way. And I do want to help, and I love helping people on a daily basis. So for me, even though this is a bit out of my norm, yeah, I'm more than happy to do it for sort of the sake of, getting the message out there in life sciences. So
Absolutely,
that
yeah.
idea of being visible is not an easy one, I think, for a lot of us.
It is not. But I believe, if there is so much junk out there in social media, and people like you are creating value for others. And if people like you are not visible, it's a disservice to the society. So by overcoming our fear of public speaking and putting ourselves out there, it takes a lot of courage. But if you see the big picture, you are helping many lives and impacting. Like every day I receive so many messages from researchers who comment on how this particular video or this particular post is helping them, either with their visa situation or with their publications. And for me, it is powerful. It motivates me to do more of what I'm doing. And I believe you think the same way, and that's why you are hosting this podcast the way you do.
Yeah, thank you for that. So you're currently the global director of R&D at Caron. what does Karen do?
So, thank you. First of all, so Caron Products is a lab equipment manufacturer and service provider. We make bioinstruments that serve biotech and biopharma companies uh, in both industry and academia. Uh, Caron is a 37-year-old company based in Marietta, Ohio, but it has largely been family owned until 2021 when it got capital infusion from SFW Capital Partners. This is the time when our current CEO, Jay Hexamer, came on board, and I was hired around the same time. And if you see the growth trajectory for Caron in the last 1 year, the company has rapidly expanded. We have hired a lot of leaders from around the world, be it in sales, marketing, R&D, engineering, production, service. We are hiring talent from all over the world because and because of this, we are able to have a client base of more than 5,000 in the Canada and US alone. But right now, we are also rapidly expanding in European Unions, APAC, that includes India, China, South Korea. As a matter of fact, I happened to initiate the Caron business in India, and we are doing very well there. A lot of people are showing interest in what we do, and we are getting great sales there. And it's a matter of great pride that we are globally helping the scientific community to create life-saving medicines, and we are a part of that.
So if I understood looking at the website for Karen, I mean, you're mostly like a equipment supplier for support equipment on the sort of the bio development side, correct?
hmm
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we do in vitro research, plant-based research, animal-based research. We basically have incubators, stability chambers, enclosures, biosafety cabinets, things along those lines. But we are also launching about 10 more products next year. And I'm very fortunate that I get to contribute to new product development at Caron as the global director of research and innovation.
Very nice. Well, Jitendra, there are three questions that I like to ask every guest. What inspires you?
What inspires me? That's a very interesting question. And I often ask myself this question, what inspires me? And the answer that I've found most convincing is being human inspires me. And knowing that unlike animals or plants, I can control my mind, my thoughts, my physical body is very powerful because we as humans are privileged to have that control. And knowing that you have a control also allows me to become proactive because I know I can plan things. I can create an environment where I'm more productive. I can create situations for myself where I can grow. It allows me to be proactive rather than being reactive, right? Um, so that inspires me, and I use it uh, to make sure that I do not come out as a victim, and I constantly remind myself that the privilege to control my moods and my happiness and whether I feel sad or pressured is completely on me and not on my external environment. And I believe that's very powerful, and that continues to inspire me in my day-to-day life as well as in achieving my bigger plans for life.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And what concerns you?
What concerns me? So, like I said, because I don't think that I'm a product of my circumstances, but I can proactively control my thoughts, allows me to be less worried. There was a time when growing up where a lot of things concerned me, but over the years, I've gone through a lot of hardship. I lost my, growing up, I my family never had the capital and resources, be it for going to schools or going to colleges or had network to get a good job, but I overcoming those hardships have allowed me to not only receive a PhD and postdoc, but also work in big companies and making an impact in the scientific community. And just learning, taking that lesson from your own life has convinced me enough that as long as I control things that are in my control and let go things that are not in my control, is a powerful way of living. And I think I'm extremely pleased to say that I'm it's not easy to concern me, it's not easy to bother me. I do not get bothered very easily.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting whenever you can sort of, think your way through whatever challenges may be in front of you, right? At the same time, understanding that each one of our lives is drastically different. I know I've talked to people before who have, immigrated to the United States just with, extra layers of clothes on their back, as well as the suitcase that they're pulling. And that's essentially what they have in life, and essentially, eventually getting to call home and say, these are the things that I'm going off to do. It's one of those things where all of our circumstances, could one, lead us to a path where we, just say, hey, look, our concerns are ones that terrify us or freeze us in where we are.
Absolutely.
And there are other people that just kind of say, you know what, I'll work my way through whatever it is that concerns me, no matter what.
Absolutely. And I also want to clear that I'm not trying to sound arrogant here, because I do have problems. So, like everyone else, it's impossible as a human to not have problems. All I'm trying to say is I'm not concerned by my problems. I know the worst that can happen is one day I'll be out of this world, and it's okay. We have limited life. We are here for limited amount of time, so we should work through our hardships, learn, and all these are experiences, and they help you grow.
Very good. And lastly, what excites you?
What excites me? A lot of things excites me. Like I said, so it's not easy to bother me, but it's very easy for me to get excited about a lot of things, and that's why I put my feet in everything. Like I love singing. Singing excites me. Reading excites me. Writing excites me. uh, my work excites me a lot, knowing that I'm working for Caron, and it has provided me an environment where I can contribute and grow. That excites me. It wakes me up every morning with excitement, um, and allows me to push myself harder. But at the end of the day, what excites me the most is the support that I receive from my wife. She supports because as a creative individual, my mind wanders in a lot of places, and and like I said, everything excites me so much. I think having her support in everything that I want to do, and she's saying that you go for it, I'm here for you, allows me to continue that excitement. So yeah, I'm very grateful to have my wife as my life partner.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Jitendra, thank you so much for spending time with me today as a guest of the Life Science Success Podcast. I greatly appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time, Don. I loved talking to you, and I wish you all the best for your book. And if the time allows, let's talk more about your book. And I would love to learn more about your book offline.
All right. Thank you.